Hello everyone, in this tutorial we'll be making an action platformer in Godot. I'm your host, Mr. H, and let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is we're going to create a new project, and let's call this action platformer. Then we can just hit create. Now let's give this a second, and there we have it. So this is going to be more of a 2D game. So we're going to select the 2D scene to make a 2D node. From there, we can go to this section and we're going to make a new scene called character body 2D. From there, we're going to zoom in and add a collision shape 2D, and we're going to use our sprite here for the mesh. Apparently not. Oh yeah, probably because I have to define this as a rectangle. Oh yeah, sprite 2D. I forgot you have to add that first and then add this here. Now he's got to shape this up, and let's enable smart snap and grid. And we're just going to add it to the grid. This will be more exact instead of what we were doing before. All right. So this is going to be our map, and it's going to be our player. So let's rename this to player. And player also needs a camera, like so. And we could play around with how the camera looks and where you want to put it. Now in this section, in our 2D node, we're going to rename this to map. And map is going to have a collision shape 2D and a mesh instance 2D. So these are going to work hand in hand. And I'm pretty sure for our collision shape, it needs to have a static body 2D. Like so. Now zoom in. Let's make this a box. And like we did before, enable grid and snap. And we will attempt to size this up as best as we can. Perfect. Okay. So now that they're the same size, I'm going to select both. Apparently I can't do what I wanted to do. Unless I can. Yes, I can. And we're just going to scale these like so. Then make sure both of these are the right size. And yes, they are. Okay. Perfect. And let's start saving our scenes. So we're saving this one as map and this one as player. Now let's add a script to our player. You can enable the character to the basic movement script, and let's just create, and we're going to change this up a bit. So since we have a one direction action platformer, very similar to other game types of this nature, we don't have X movement. We only have jump. You cannot control if you can go right or left. So to do that, we're just going to remove this section and this section. And it's just going to be speed. And the reason I have it like so is just so you only move one direction. Now, let's save our scene. Go back to 2D. And let's add our player into the scene. So this guy, oh, did not want to do that. This guy's going to go here. And we're just going to press play and let's see if this works. And yeah, all right. So we got the first portion done. second portion is playing around with the speed and jump. So I would say if we go back to the script, his jump is a little higher and his speed should be a little quicker. Maybe I made my character a little too small. So let's just play around with that. All right, that looks a little better. Next up, we have to make the rotating portion. So we want our player to rotate every so often. So if we go here, we're going to click on this and we want him to rotate. We can rotate via transform. So we want this rotation. And we're going to rotate the collision shape 2D. But in Godot, there's two ways we can do this. So we can either rotate the collision shape 2D and also rotate the sprite 2D. So it'd be like the same thing. Or we can put this in here. It's not going to change it. And whatever we do to this guy will follow. And we're going to be doing it that way. And our player is only going to rotate when we're jumping. So when our player is not on the floor, so if we look on the script, is on floor. If not is on floor, this is exactly what we're going to be using. And let's do this. So if not is on floor, we're going to do player dot rotation underscore degrees plus equals 5. So we're going to be rotating 5 degrees every time we're not on the floor. And I also need to assign player. So player is going to be our collision shape 2D, which holds the sprites and the collision shape 2D. So let's do a variable for that. So we're going to do at onReady. The reason we're using onReady is so it's assigned before the game starts. So variable player equals get underscore node. And since our script is on the parent node, we just call the name of the child node, which is going to be this one. Okay, and let's try that out. All right. So we're getting there. Now, what we're missing is in a very similar game, like so, you actually auto adjust your player's rotation when you hit the ground, and it kind of snaps into place. So let's do something similar for that. And let's do something else, because let's say we have like a big jump. If our player jumps from up here to down here, he's going to keep rotating and rotating and rotating. And his rotation is just going to keep adding up. So it's eventually going to go over 360 degrees, and it's going to give us some issues. So just to make it simpler for us to code, we're going to do another if statement, and it's going to be if player dot rotation underscore degrees is more than 360, the player's rotation will be 0. So this just makes it easier for us to code. So no matter if they go 360 degrees, it's not going to be like 360 and 365 or 400 or 500 on the very big jumps. The next section we want to deal with is the snapping. So to add our snapping, we're also going to add it here. Oh wait, we're not going to add it there. So we only slap when we're on the floor, not when we're not on the floor. So we're just gonna add this under. If is on floor, variable rot for rotation, and that equals player rotation in degrees. The reason we're using degrees and not just player rotation, because player rotation is in radians. In radians, it's like pi over 2 and pi over 4. And I want to keep my life simpler. So let's have if rotation is less than 45, or rot is more equal to 315, and we're going to keep this on the same line. Player dot rotation degrees equal 0. And we will just copy and paste this and make these elif. So if we're between 0 to 44, or if we're more than 315 to 360, and we fall down, our player's rotation will start at 0 again. So we're just going to snap into the closest degree. If we're more or equal to 45 and less than 135, our player's rotation will be 9 degrees. And this will be 180, and this will be 270. And the reason we won't have 360 is because 360 is literally the same as 0. And we're just gonna copy this and this. So this one would be 315. This one would be 225. This would be 135. And this will be 225. And I'll tell you why I picked those numbers. All right. So basically, we will snap in place from these degrees, and these degrees basically have 90 degrees of clearance. So from 45, so let's just add it up. So 44 to 0 is 44. Then we have 315 to 360 is 90 degrees. So this is 9 degrees of clearance, 45 on the left and 45 on the right. Now we have 45 to 135. If you do the math, that is 9 degrees. So 90 degrees of clearance here, and between those 9 degrees, we'll snap to 90. Here the same, 9 degrees of clearance, 135 plus 90 is 225. And we'll snap to 180 degrees, 225 to 315, 9 degrees of clearance, and we'll snap to 70. And let's see how this looks in game. So it doesn't look proper. This in the wrong place. And let's try it again. I realized what I have wrong is I have or instead of and. The only or we need is this one, because they're not like in the same position. They're like spread apart. There's 45 here and there's 45 there. The rest of them are like 90 degrees in between. And that's why I use and here and or there. Now if we try this one out, it's still not working properly. So another issue I countered is right here. Instead of just pressed, it should just be while you just have it pressed. And it still doesn't solve our issue here. So after some careful consideration and some research, I figured out the way I was attempting to rotate the collision shape 2D with the sprite 2D under it was a mistake. And it's only visually making the sprite change, not the actual collision shape. So the collision shape actually stays the same. And that works a bit better. Let's make this a bit quicker. And that is perfect. Our next step is let's add some blocks. So we're going to add a static body. This will have a collision shape 2D and a mesh instance 2D. And I also hid my character because we will be changing some values in the Explorer. So let's move this up. Let's make this rectangular and this a box mesh. All right, and let's change this value to be 20 and 20, and boom. Now I can just add myself back. Let's just put him somewhere there. And I also might want to scale him up because the character seems to be way bigger. So let's put our character inside a grid. And we're going to size up our static body to be the size of the grid as well. Scale. And boom. Because I'm doing this. All right. Perfect. Let's get to player. And perfect. Okay. And let's see how this goes so far. Yes. Now if we want to duplicate this is what we can do. We can just add him somewhere and press Shift D. And now you have another one. Shift D. Let's make some difficult jumps. Like so. And I realized you aren't properly set. So let's change these. Let's move this guy. Let's also move up the player because we're going to fix the ground here. We're just going to scale it up a wee bit. There you go. And let's press play to see what we have so far. Okay. So we definitely jump way too far. And I feel like we are a bit fast. Okay, now we don't jump enough. Let's make this 450 and let's give it a try. But I feel like we're too slow. All right, so you're probably gonna have to change this value quite a bit. Depending on preference, I guess. But I guess we'll just go over to killing the player. So going back to the player script, we're gonna do another if statement, and we're gonna do if is on wall. So player, no. If is on wall, we'll do position equals vector2 dot 0. Basically, whenever we hit a wall, it's gonna move us to the origin. But we do have a slight issue of where our objects aren't exactly properly set. So let's move this over there. And now let's move the player to there. Okay. And we're moving to the actual center of the origin, which is not what we want. So instead of 0, we'll do a -20. And let's give that a try. We'll make this 10 and 50. There you go. Much better. And let's fix some of these. That aren't properly set. Because they're too far. So why isn't the other dude getting selected? Oh, it's because I have a duplicate there that I didn't notice. So this is what I have so far. When jumping, it looks like they can jump 2 grids. This guy is not connected to the floor properly. And I think it's because of this. So let's scale that quickly just a little bit. There you go. And let's press play. So the height needs to be changed. And I think 3 is probably the method. Or my speed is too quick. Make that 350. This should calm things down a little bit. And it did not calm things down a little bit. Yeah. I think all of these have to be in 2 grids away. And let's give this a try. No, wait, 3 grids? Sorry, 3 squares. Okay, it's possible. All right. Now in our script, instead of having this here, if we wanted to make a kill brick or like a kill triangle thing, those will be a little different. So let's make this a function. So we're gonna do under here, we're gonna do function death. And all it does is this. And this will call death. And let's see if this works so far. And it does. Perfect. Okay. So now let's make a kill triangle. To do that, we're going to add another static body. And this static body is going to have a collision shape 2D, a mesh instance 2D, and maybe an area 2D of some sort. So let's see what our error is. I think I have this the other way around. Let's move this up to see how it looks. Okay, and what's the issue here? Maybe we don't need a static body. Right. So the collision shape, well, should be a triangle. So do we have... No, we don't. So we're just going to make this a rectangle and a triangle. Okay. So let's set the values to be 20 by 20. This will make it not big enough, actually. They want this to be the same size as a grid. Let's see what we can do. This is gonna go there, there, there. This guy we gotta rotate. So let's go to transform, rotate 180. We're gonna move him down. We can't even move him down properly. Let's just make him bigger. So 40 by 40. It's not enough. Let's do 60 by 60. That might be a little too tall. 55. Okay, and let's make this 65. Oh wait, no, I was doing it right. This has to be bigger. All right. Why are you slightly lower? Let's make this 63 for now, I guess. And 63. Okay. Now for our actual collision, we're gonna make this only the tip of our triangle, just so it's fair to the player. Like so. Now we're just gonna click here. We're gonna go to signals, and we're gonna do. Oh wait, I'm in the way. So we're gonna click on an area 2D, signals, and you're gonna click on body entered. The player, like this, and this is just gonna call the method death. And now we can give it a try. So let's move this guy right there. And let's press play. Perfect. So not only do we die when we click on the wall, but we die when we click on a triangle. And that will be all for today. I am very thankful you watched to the end, and hopefully you join for the next tutorial. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.